My name is H.A. Goodman, and I'm an author, columnist, and journalist. And to read my writing and to see my latest CNN appearances and my MSNBC appearances, you can go to hagoodman.com. In this segment, I'm going to discuss why Donald Trump defeats Clinton. So Donald Trump would defeat Hillary Clinton on November 8th, 2016, on Election Day. And I'm going to explain why Bernie Sanders destroys Donald Trump on Election Day, and why Democrats must nominate Bernie Sanders if they truly fear Donald Trump. And I doubt that most establishment Democrats truly fear Donald Trump. I think it's all a charade, because they have this very bizarre allegiance to Hillary Clinton. So first off, let's look at the poll numbers. Now, all you hear when Clinton is up, last year and early in 2016, you heard that, well, her poll numbers are so great. She's so far ahead of Bernie Sanders. She defeats Donald Trump by a wide margin. Well, now she's only in an average of polls, according to Real Clear Politics. She is only up over the Antichrist, Donald Trump, the man everyone fears, the man that if you're watching in other countries and you think that Trump is a danger to the world, well, if you don't want a neon Trump sign outside the White House, let's hope that Clinton doesn't become nominee, and I don't believe she will. I believe that indictments are imminent. But she only beats Donald Trump by 1.5 points right now, according to Real Clear Politics, in an average of polls. 1.5 points. This is the most qualified candidate. This is a politician. This is a politician who was Secretary of State, Senator, Secretary of State, and now said to be the most qualified person in 2016. She only beats our national embarrassment and a buffoon in Donald Trump by 1.5 points. What does that tell you about Hillary Clinton? That tells you if the Republicans had nominated anyone else, they would be defeating Clinton by a lot more than 1.5 points. When you look at Bernie Sanders, if you want to defeat Trump, so if you're an establishment Democrat and you're saying, well, you got to rally around Clinton if she's the nominee. No, you don't. Because we know right now that she doesn't beat Donald Trump. We know that she has an FBI criminal investigation where the State Department just stated that she broke rules and guidelines pertaining to the handling of classified information and Freedom of Information Act laws. The guidelines pertain to laws. When you hear the spin, well, the guidelines are just rules. No, they're rules pertaining to laws. That's why they're rules at a government agency. That's why they're rules at the State Department, because they pertain to laws. But the point is that Bernie Sanders defeats Trump by 10.4 points in an average of polls. He destroys Donald Trump without an FBI criminal investigation, without the risk of indictments. Espionage Act indictments. Hillary Clinton used a BlackBerry, primarily a BlackBerry, throughout her tenure as Secretary of State, linked to a private server that was unencrypted for 3 months. Now here, you're going to hear the spin. This is what Colin Powell never did. This is what other secretaries of state never, ever did. Are you listening, Hillary supporters? They never did what Hillary Clinton did. What Clinton paid Brian Pagliano to do is transfer and link her private server located in her home to secure government networks within the State Department that held only top secret information and special access program information. This is why she's getting indicted. This is why the 1.5 points over Trump will be Trump beating her by 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 points after indictments, because Colin Powell, Condoleezza Rice, and nobody else had a private server. So they all had state.gov emails. But nobody else had a private server that was connected to State Department servers that held only top secret information and the Bourne classified SAP information. So when you hear, well, it was retroactively classified, how was she to know? Special access program information is what's called Bourne classified. You don't need a header on a document saying, hey, idiot, this is important special access program information dealing with terrorism, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, defeating all of these things, defeating any threat that we face. That's what's in SAP information intelligence. That's what she had on her private server that was unencrypted for 3 months that Guccifer hacked into. And I trust Guccifer. He's serving time for hacking. I trust him a lot more than I trust a person who made up a story about Bosnian sniper fire and Hillary Clinton, and a person that in every major national poll is viewed to be a liar. She's viewed as not honest and trustworthy, Hillary Clinton is, in every national poll. Her negative favorability ratings rival those of Donald Trump's, our national buffoon. So you have Trump and Clinton in a battle between the lesser of two evils, where Trump would win that battle. He is not, and that's another, that goes to the next issue. So Bernie Sanders, of course, beats Donald Trump by 10.4 points. He destroys Donald Trump without an FBI investigation, without scandal. Bernie Sanders supporters are passionate, idealistic people, and Bernie is very popular among independents throughout the country. 40% of the American electorate is independent. And Bernie has about 40% of independents. Clinton only has around 8%. And Trump has a little over 20%. But the point is, Bernie Sanders destroys Donald Trump. He already does in polls, 10.4 points. But when you look at the strategy that Democrats have against Trump, one reason that they can't beat Trump with Hillary Clinton is Clinton keeps saying, well, he's a danger, he's a threat. She's under FBI criminal investigation. She's not fooling anyone. So the Clinton campaign isn't fooling anyone. They can say that Trump is a danger, and people will. There's a lot of people who will believe it. That's true. That's true. But if Trump, 2 weeks, it'll take 2 weeks for Donald Trump to pretend that he's a normal human being, that he's not a narcissist. 2 weeks, 3 weeks of him not saying something incredibly stupid and offensive. And suddenly a great many people will say, well, you know what, this guy, you know what, he's arrogant, but at least he's not under FBI criminal investigation. And there you go. Right now, even with people thinking that he's the Antichrist, he only is down by 1.5 points against Clinton, and he was up by a point about a week ago. So 1 week ago, he was up by a point. But getting back to the polls, Bernie Sanders beats Donald Trump by 10.4 points. If you're a Bernie supporter, there are three things that you have to hammer into your friendly Hillary supporter who thinks that Hillary Clinton is the most qualified and best candidate. Number one, Clinton loses to Trump. She's only up by 1.5 points. Bernie destroys Trump by 10.4 points. Hillary Clinton, the next thing is Hillary Clinton connected her private server or found a way to link her private server to secure government networks that held top secret special access program information, which is why the nation cannot see, which is why the United States of America, or Americans cannot see the 22 top secret emails in Hillary Clinton's private server. Why? Because they contain top secret information and intelligence and special access program intelligence. If I'm repeating myself, there's a reason for that. The SAP information will be the downfall of the Clinton campaign. That's the basis for impending and imminent indictments. Then, of course, and Bernie doesn't deal with any of this stuff. And he beats Donald Trump by over 10 points in an average of polls. Then, of course, there's the issue of fearing Donald Trump. Not everybody fears Donald Trump. He'll be the Republican nominee. The Republicans don't fear him. He'll be their nominee. They voted for him. Okay, and everyone dropped out of the race. So they don't fear Donald Trump. Independents don't fear Donald Trump. Loyal Democrats, yes, loyal to Hillary Clinton, fear Donald Trump. They say they do. But the issue with that is there are people, there was a poll out recently, that a great many Democrats would still vote for Clinton even under indictment. This only proves that Bernie Sanders needs to address this issue right now and needs to say, hey, I am the person who does not face FBI criminal investigation. FBI criminal indictments. I'm not under investigation, and he's been very, very classy, and he's been very honorable. But in my last segment, I said now is the time to talk about Clinton's top secret emails. Most people, and the spin is already out, so they're getting ready for indictments. The indictments are imminent, and they're getting ready to justify voting for Hillary Clinton, even under criminal indictments, even with the United States versus Hillary Clinton during her first term in a trial. So she could face jail time in her first term. There are still people who would vote for that type of person. There are still people, according to a recent poll, that would vote for Clinton, even with the threat of jail time. This is how brainwashed people are. If you're watching in other countries, this is the state of our democracy, which is interesting because our foreign policy is predicated upon the notion that we can spread democracy to other nations. We don't even have democracy. We don't even have it down in this country yet. We're still working on it. So there are people who would vote for a presidential candidate who could go to jail in her first term. That's the state of our democracy. So that is one of the biggest issues that Bernie Sanders has to address right now. And he's addressed the emails a little bit more recently, but he has to go hard, and he has to go strong on the fact that because the spin is already out with the Clinton campaign, and he has to explain that Colin Powell, Condoleezza Rice, none of Clinton's predecessors ever connected a private server. None of them had private servers with classified information, 2,200 classified emails, and none of them had born classified special access program information. 22 top secret emails that were born classified, many of which had SAP information. Colin Powell never had that. That's an issue that the Sanders campaign has to hammer down and has to stress and focus upon because the spin is already out. Then there's the Bernie or bust movement. That's another issue right then and there. I am writing in Bernie Sanders' name if he's not the nominee. I believe he will be the nominee. I believe he will win the presidency. Bernie is going to be our 45th president. Okay? If you think that's hyperbole, just watch. It will happen. Clinton will get indictments because SAP information cannot be anywhere else but secure government networks. She's going to get indicted. She's not going to win. Some people will vote for her. She's not going to win. But the Bernie or bust movement will never, ever, 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 ever vote for Hillary Clinton. You're looking at 30 to 40% of Bernie Sanders supporters in the comments section. What is it right now? Do you think it's more than 40%? I'm interested in getting your feedback. What percentage of Bernie supporters would never vote for Hillary Clinton? Now you're hearing this ridiculous, oh, well, what if Bernie is the VP? Yeah, what if Hillary Clinton is the VP? And even I wouldn't vote for that ticket because with Hillary Clinton, you have a person who is power hungry. So she would never in a million years become VP. And the only reason she would become a vice president is because somehow she believes she would be president, which is scary. That's a frightening thought right then and there. So if I'm Bernie or if I'm anyone, the last person I want is Hillary Clinton as my vice president. That is not good. Not good for a lot of reasons. But she has a neocon foreign policy. Those aren't my words. Those are the words of a conservative historian in the New York Times. I'll put the link below. Then there's, of course, Neocons for Hillary, the article in Vox. Whole bunch of articles. She's a hawk. Voted for the Iraq War, pushed for the bombing of Libya. Now she wants to send ground troops back to the Middle East. She's a hawk. And you can't put that type of person alongside Bernie Sanders, who wants to end perpetual wars. So they would both utilize the authorization for use of military force in completely different manners. The AUMF gives the president unilateral authority to send troops or bomb for a certain time period before congressional approval. That's what people don't understand. When progressives, quote unquote, progressives say, well, why is H.A. Goodman so hard on Hillary Clinton? Well, because she's not a Democrat on war, foreign policy, Wall Street, many environmental issues like fracking, There's a whole lot of reasons not to vote for Hillary Clinton if you're a progressive. If you're truly a progressive, you would never in a million years think of voting for Clinton. But the point is, people are already talking about a ticket with Bernie as her VP. I say, if anything, it would be Clinton as Bernie's VP. And even still, I wouldn't vote for that ticket. And I love Bernie Sanders. And Bernie or bust people the majority would never vote for any ticket where Clinton is a part of the administration. So, and by the way, would you want Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State? Of course not. That's another reason why Clinton shouldn't be president. Would you want her again as Secretary of State because she did such a great job during her tenure as Secretary of State? Of course not. Of course not. You wouldn't want Clinton as Secretary of State. Why on earth should she be president? What has she shown in terms of decision making, in terms of good decisions, in terms of being able to type an email or perform a speech without scandal, which leads us to this. All the progressive writers out there who are watching this, I want you to answer this question. Why can't Hillary Clinton disclose a Wall Street speech? So if you're watching this, go ahead, write an article or an essay, explain. You really need to do that because that's one of the biggest reasons there's a Bernie or bust movement. Then the trustworthiness and favorability. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton rival one another. They're both dishonest, and people don't like both of them. The issue with Trump, all Trump has to do is say, you know what? I'm not under FBI criminal investigation. Game over. He's already won. He's won every single debate. Hillary Clinton is horrible on the defensive. She couldn't even stand Bernie pointing or shout, or he wasn't even shouting. She couldn't even stand a person raising their voice. What do you think Trump is going to do? He is going to point. He's going to shout. He's going to talk about every single scandal, real or fabricated. And he's going to talk about a very genuine controversy, fiasco, scandal in the emails. Then we have Bernie's momentum. Here's a little news flash to the brainwashed Hillary supporters in the media, progressive writers who should never be called progressive anymore because they're choosing Clinton over Sanders, and most of them will have to pivot very soon when indictments hit. And then I just can't wait for the email or I can't wait for the article saying indictments aren't that big of a deal. She still deserves the presidency. I am telling you, mark my words, you will see those articles. Just like I told you, this email issue is going to be huge, and it is, and indictments are coming. And I wrote about Bernie being here at this point, forcing a contested convention, winning the Democratic nomination. He will. Becoming president, he will. I'm telling you, when indictments hit, you're going to read articles saying, you know what, these indictments aren't fair, and it's horrible, and it's a Republican plot, and Bernie or bust people are Tea Partiers, and you know what, still vote for Clinton, even with the risk of jail time, and even with the United States versus Hillary Clinton during her first term as president. Ain't going to happen. Bernie's taking this, and he's going to win the Democratic nomination. Regardless of what happens in California, I believe that Bernie will win California, but regardless of what happens, Bernie has this. If it's Clinton, Trump wins. If you're a Hillary supporter right now, you're watching, you think this guy's crazy. Oh, H.A. Goodman's crazy. If you fear Donald Trump, you vote for Hillary. If you fear Donald Trump, you don't vote for Hillary Clinton, and you vote for Bernie Sanders, the person who beats Trump by 10.4 points. You do not vote for Hillary Clinton, who barely beats Trump right now, before FBI criminal investigation, before the FBI discloses its findings, and before indictments. The lesser of two evil politics is over. That's done. There's no more of that anymore. Bernie Sanders is going to win. I am only voting for Bernie Sanders. There are millions and millions of people like me. And indictments are imminent. If it's Clinton, Trump, Trump wins. If it's Bernie Trump, Bernie destroys Trump, and we have a Democrat in the White House. Thank you so much for listening.